Third part, how do we transform a nation? How do we end racism? How do we end the barbaric policies that we have? So here's how I think we do that. At the heart of it has to start with young people. Has to start with young people. And so we're going to do three things. One, we're about to, in the coming months, open up a program where we want to train, starting with here in Victoria, we want to train up 750 youth ambassadors, young people to be champions for refugees. Champions in the communities, champions with their families, champions with their teachers, out there leading by partnering with 150 schools to do this. We've got funding for someone to manage this, we're going to do it. And if we invest in that and build that next generation of young people that are informed, educated, it's amazing when you talk to young people. They get it. Their tolerance for racism and bullshit dissipates very quickly. You equip young people with the facts and the truth and they respond. But the challenge for us is then how do we build the moral architecture around them that allows those young people to hold that space? Because often when they go back into their peer group or back home where they might have their parents and going, Scar, let's stop those boats, it's hard for young people to hold that space. So then we're going to link them with young refugees and build this extraordinary, beautiful community that self-empowers each other. The second thing we're going to do is train up young refugees to be leaders. Again, we've got a grant to train up hundreds of young refugees to be out there speaking and representing their own communities. And the third thing we're going to do is we're going to put our hot potato back on the road and go across this country, which is simple, give a hot potato, go out there and start a conversation and get people talking. People are afraid, let's go out there and actually have that conversation. Let's actually engage in that talk. And the final thing we're going to do, we're also going to build a thing called a platform for advocacy, which will allow people anywhere in Australia to build their own ideas. At the moment, I'm on scholarship, just finishing my MBA. We go back to school tonight, actually. I'm living there. It's a very different world, one where all they care about is money. But they have solutions. In business, people are always looking for solutions. There's an answer to everything. So we want to build a platform and a global movement. Let's build a better planet for refugees. Better food security, better attitudes, better families, better compassion, better policies, better protection, better rights, better chance to contribute, better laws, better outcomes. Why can't we do this? Why can't we build this? And I'm sitting now and thinking, actually, we need to actually start building a movement that tackles and links into our regional area as well. We've got a government that's not going to change its policies anytime soon. A Labor Party that's equally as gutless and morally bankrupt. So we need to also think regionally and globally. We need to be building a dialogue with Malaysia, with Indonesia, with the Pacific Islands. Countries like Cambodia, where 40% of their children are malnourished, but are about to take refugees because they have capacity. We don't. We need to build that dialogue. One of the things we also plan to do with our social enterprises next year is divert all its profits to fund refugee projects in our region. So have refugees here, empowering and supporting refugees in their communities. And then having the refugees here, using technology to mentor and support refugees that have been displaced in other regions. Anything is possible. What excites me is the idea of let's find solutions. Let's build this better planet for refugees. And where we need to do is we need to go beyond. We need to keep doing all the traditional things. Like today, we're out there rallying, we're talking to our local members, and we're calling back talkback radio, and so on and so on. But the problem is all those things. We're facing a Goliath here of inhumanity, and we're sitting here just kind of knocking at the door going, let us in, please. And we need to actually disrupt the whole space. And actually sit there and go, we're not playing by your rules anymore. We're going to build our own economy, build our own ideas, build our own opportunities, build our own movements. What if we did that instead? What if we took all that energy and put it all into solutions? Rather than fighting back. We've become such a reactive movement because we don't know what else to do but to sit there and we post and we tweet and we call, but none of it's changing, is it? It's actually getting worse. So we need to take a breath now and stop and go, let's actually build solutions. Let's actually use the extraordinary, you imagine if we could mobilize the third that's with us. 3 or 4 million people nationally together. You imagine if we could then segment that. I've got a friend tomorrow's planning to get arrested again. And, he was the one arrested for praying in Scott Morrison's office. For Scott Morrison and refugees, so Christians arrested for praying in Scott Morrison's office. Charles got dropped by the court. Was like, it's the most peaceful protest ever. He plans to get arrested again tomorrow, even better. But imagine if you could mobilize genuinely a religious coalition that actually acted, put its body on the line. When you've got, for example, religious leaders being arrested because they're actually daring to demand a compassionate moral society, that forces people to think. We partner with business that sits there and says there's no place for such policies when it comes to our economy and our future in this region. It's hurting our international reputation. We work with young people, the next voting generation, where politicians are looking behind them going, oh shit, that generation coming up has no appetite or tolerance for this. We're working with media, sporting institutions, community groups, regional and rural communities, all the pillars of influence. And imagine if we could harness all that. Focus on a handful of outcomes that we want. There is hope. I know there's always hope because I just look at the extraordinary people who turn up at our doorstep every day against all the odds and never lose it. They'll fight to the end to save their lives. That is the most extraordinary resilience and courage. And our opportunity is a gift to be part of